Okay, a few words about the Confluence data platform. Let's start with the data. The data is stored in a cloud middle layer in Box. You can manage them in multiple institutions, each of them with their own Box contract, because Box maintains this backend that is shared across all its clients. And what distinguishes the access to the data by different people is the permissions that each data owner assigns to different data assets. So this will be a familiar environment to many people who might have used Box or Dropbox, Google Drive. They fulfill the same function. So then we have GitHub, where the code is kept. This is an open source project, so you can find all present and past versions of the code. And also GitHub is where we serve the web application. So here. GH Pages is used for version hosting of HTML content, and also plenty of JavaScript files orchestrating different processes on your web browser. Finally, RStudio, popular environment for computation for biostatistics and bioinformatics applications. This combination of data and code potentially running in RStudio, potentially running on the web, define what we call a data commons. So data and analytical procedures in a shared environment. Behind all of this, there is a set of high-end managed services that can be used for data-intensive or computational-intensive applications, and that NCI we tend to use Google Cloud Platform under the Strides initiative. Okay, so let's now move to the platform. So we'll start here, and we'll point straight to the data to see how this looks like. Then we'll go to RStudio and look at how GitHub plays a role in this environment. So I'm going to log in. Box is going to manage my identity and the scope of the authorization through my own account, my own NIH account. This can be done under any account that you have with Box.com. So I'm logging in, my email, my password. I go through the OAuth to dance. Now I'm asked if I'm okay with this scope of reading and writing files in Box. And this is an authorization requested by a web page hosted in GitHub, so version hosting. This means that as the code changes, you always have the latest version. So I was recognized. Here I am. Let's look at the data. I have some data here. So this is an example of some data I'm interested in that was created by Tom and modified by Baumik. So the interesting point here is that we have versioning also at the data level. So if you change someone else's file, both versions will be available. So there's also an ID for the version of the file, and this avoids data loss. So I'm going to copy the ID. Let's recall where we are. And so I just did it here with reference to this data. And now I'm going to go to RStudio. So in RStudio, we have script I'm going to load that will take care of not just authenticating you into Box, but also of creating an object with a number of key methods that you can use to access the data, visualize data in different places, and of course do your own analysis and potentially write them back. So here we go. So I was recognized. There it is, my email again, my ID, and so on. So EpiSphere should now be available. Yeah, and it is. I'm going to read some data. By the way, remember that BoxR, that's the only dependency of EpiSphere. BoxR is an SDK for Box that is handling all of these processes underneath the EpiSphere method. You can and you should, of course, use BoxR. So I'm going to go here. So you see the environment. We should have an X showing up. There we are, and now we have X. So you know that you could also be using the core method, the BoxR method. Let's do BoxR. Box read, and instead of X we'll call it Y, so you know it's the same thing. There it is, the same exact data. Okay, so now let's view this. And maybe let's do an histogram. And I believe we have the participants here, birth here, there it is. So we should see a distribution of ages of different participants, of their birth here. Okay, I'll stop here. There are a number of other methods and that EpiSphere supports, and there'll be new methods will be appearing as the project advances. If you want to have a quick example, for instance, if you want to see a file, you could open it here. I'm going to open one by default. This is in a test folder in Box where we test the use of the library. And you see that from RStudio you can control the browser as well. That's what you have here. And we have the same file you see here in view. There it is. Okay, so now let's try something else. Let's open a folder. And there it is. So this is the folder where we keep some test data for development of this toolbox. I think I'll stop here. So the tool is in the beginning, it's now growing fast, and we rely on it heavily for this orchestration of engagements that happen through web applications, engagements that happen in RStudio, and potentially high-end applications running underground, so to speak, in Google Cloud Platform. All right, I'll stop here. Thank you.